In this podcast episode, Dave Smith engages in discussion on the pressing issues facing the United States. He critiques the Biden administration's policies, explores the rarity of selfless leadership, and emphasizes the importance of decentralization, financial literacy, and critical thinking in navigating today's complex political landscape. The conversation also delves into the moral complexities of the Israel-Palestine conflict, challenging listeners to reconsider their perspectives on military responses and the motivations behind the actions of both sides. Smith articulates his concerns about the intense cultural divide and the emergence of what he terms creepy technological neo-fascism. He highlights the alarming implications of central bank digital currencies and the potential for a ruling class to exert authoritarian control over citizens' lives through technological means. He argues that the current financial situation of the nation, coupled with a deteriorating cultural climate, raises significant red flags about the future of individual liberties. Smith critiques the Biden administration's policies, especially in the realm of foreign affairs and domestic issues. He expresses skepticism regarding Biden's genuine concern for social issues, such as trans rights, suggesting that the administration's hawkish foreign policy is more indicative of its true priorities. This skepticism extends to the political elite, whom Smith believes often lack a nuanced understanding of the complexities surrounding the issues they address. This disconnect can lead to reckless decisions with potentially dire consequences for the nation. The conversation shifts to the rarity of leaders who willingly turn down power. Smith references historical figures like George Washington, who famously chose not to become a king, emphasizing that such selflessness is exceedingly rare in human nature. He posits that the desire for power is a fundamental aspect of humanity, and once individuals attain it, they often rationalize their actions as being for the greater good, even when they may not be. This tendency raises questions about the motivations of contemporary leaders and the implications for governance. Despite the challenges posed by the current political landscape, Smith expresses optimism about the increasing awareness of systemic corruption within the government and media. He believes that the rise of alternative media and the ability for individuals to challenge dominant narratives have created a more informed populace. This shift in awareness could hinder the ruling class's ability to manipulate public opinion and lead the nation into unnecessary conflicts, such as wars based on false pretenses. A significant theme in Smith's discussion is the preference for decentralization over centralized power. He argues that decentralized systems allow for more local autonomy and better reflect the needs and desires of individual communities. This approach fosters a sense of ownership and responsibility among citizens, leading to more effective governance. In contrast, centralized power often results in a disconnect between the government and the governed, leading to inefficiencies and a lack of responsiveness to local issues. Smith emphasizes that prosperity is best achieved through voluntary cooperation rather than government regulation. He critiques the narrative that government intervention is necessary to protect citizens from bad actors in the market. Instead, he posits that individuals and businesses can self-regulate through mutual agreements and voluntary associations. This perspective aligns with libertarian principles, suggesting that when people are free to cooperate and trade without excessive government interference, they can create wealth and improve their living conditions. In discussing the importance of financial literacy, Smith shares his personal journey of learning about finance, particularly in the context of helping those in economically vulnerable positions. He expresses concern that many people lack a fundamental understanding of money and finance, making them susceptible to exploitation. By educating themselves about financial principles, individuals can better navigate the complexities of the economic system and protect themselves from being victimized. Smith believes that financial literacy is crucial for empowerment and resilience in a rapidly changing economic landscape. Smith addresses the human tendency to defer to experts in various fields, including politics and economics. He acknowledges that most people do not have the time or expertise to deeply understand every issue, leading them to rely on the narratives presented by those in positions of authority. This reliance can create a cycle where individuals mimic the knowledge of experts in conversations, often without fully grasping the underlying complexities. Smith highlights the importance of critical thinking and encourages listeners to question the information they receive rather than passively accepting it. Identifying as a laissez-faire libertarian, Smith articulates his belief that past injustices should not dictate current policies. He argues that while historical wrongs, such as the founding of Israel or the treatment of Native Americans, should be acknowledged, they do not justify ongoing injustices or the denial of rights to current populations. Smith emphasizes the importance of individual rights and the need to create a just society moving forward, rather than being mired in historical grievances. He advocates for solutions that respect the rights of all individuals, regardless of their historical context. The podcast also delves into the complexities of the Israel-Palestine conflict, particularly focusing on the actions of Hamas and the Israeli Defense Forces, IDF. Smith critiques the pro-Israel narrative that often misrepresents the situation in Gaza, particularly regarding the Israeli withdrawal from Gaza and the subsequent occupation. He argues that the framing of the narrative can skew public perception, leading to a misunderstanding of the realities faced by Palestinians. This misrepresentation can create a false dichotomy in how people view the conflict, often simplifying it to a good versus evil narrative without acknowledging the complexities involved. Smith contrasts the character of an IDF pilot with that of a Hamas terrorist. He posits that, in a hypothetical scenario where one would choose to have lunch with either, the IDF pilot might be seen as more civilized. This is based on the assumption that the pilot is performing a job that requires a level of compartmentalization, suggesting that he can separate his military duties from his personal life. In contrast, Smith implies that a Hamas terrorist may struggle with this separation, potentially leading to a more chaotic and violent personal life. However, he acknowledges that this distinction does not absolve the IDF of moral responsibility for the consequences of their actions, particularly when it comes to civilian casualties. The discussion shifts to the false binary created in the narrative surrounding Israel's military response to Hamas. Smith argues that the choice is not simply between a full-scale ground war and doing nothing in response to Hamas's attacks. He points out that historically, Israel has dealt with terrorism through targeted operations rather than large-scale military actions that result in widespread destruction. He emphasizes that there are various strategies that could be employed to address the threat posed by Hamas without resorting to the kind of devastation seen in recent conflicts. Smith critiques the current Israeli strategy as an overreaction that plays into Hamas's hands, potentially leading to greater animosity and further cycles of violence. Throughout the conversation, Smith highlights the importance of understanding the motivations behind Hamas's actions, suggesting that they are strategically designed to provoke a response from Israel that would turn global opinion against it. He argues that the current situation is not merely a reaction to terrorism, but is also influenced by political dynamics within Israel, particularly under Netanyahu's leadership. Smith expresses concern that the ongoing conflict and the resulting humanitarian crisis in Gaza will only serve to perpetuate the cycle of violence and hatred, making it imperative to seek more measured and effective responses to the challenges posed by Hamas.